What up, family? We back with that Wednesday morning motivation, man. Last week we talked about pain. So if you don't know how to deal with that, or you don't know how to look pain in his eye and say what's up, say let's go back and watch that video. I hope it gives you some motivation again, right? But let's get into today, man. We talking about responsibility. I don't know, this word just dropped in my head. I'm like, wow, I'm gonna talk about responsibility. I don't know who needs this. I don't know who needs to see this. I don't know if it's for next year, for when somebody watches this. I don't know when this is gonna be watched by you. But whenever you watch this, I hope this just lights you on fire, because responsibility is something that a lot of people don't think about. But guess what? The responsibility is literally, responsibility is that you have to respond to the ability that God gave you, right? You can't just sit around and be a couch potato. You can't just sit around and not work on your mindset. You can't just sit around and not do anything. God gave you ability to respond, right? A lot of people have this imagination that, hey, that God is just going to reach down and just magically bless you and just say, hey, you're changed, wow, right overnight. No. It's a walk with God. It's a walk with God so that you can go through these experiences to experience God, right? To experience him, so that you can know the truth, so that you can know who he is and what he does. But he gave you abilities that you have to respond. That's why it's at a certain point where you have to have some self-will to respond to that ability. Because if he gave you the ability to work hard, then guess what? You got to go out and work hard. That's a response to him, to his ability for you to work hard. If he gave you the spirit of, I'm not even the spirit, but if he gave you the fruit of spirit to love or to be patient, then respond to that spirit. Go love people. Respond to that patience. Be patient with people. Bear with people. God, you see what I'm saying? You have to respond to that ability. If you gave you the ability to run fast, then guess what? Respond by going out and running fast on the football field, court, track, whatever it is. Figure out what your gift is. Figure out what your ability is and what you're able to do, and respond to it. He gave you your mindset. Because he gave you a brain so that you can respond to that brain. Well, meaning that at a point when you mature and you want to change, that means response to that. Like when you start feeling uncomfortable, you start feeling like you're changing, you start feeling like something's tugging on your heart, respond to that, because there's going to be a blessing on the other side of that. But you have to respond, meaning take action, meaning you have to step forward, meaning you have to step forward in faith, because we walk by faith, not by sight. We don't walk in the seen world. We walk in the unseen world. That means respond to this, right? Once you get saved, you got to respond to that spirit, because there's going to be a spirit that's interjected in you that you got to respond to that. You got to start living in his word. You got to start understanding who he is. But also, once he gives you people, you got to understand what that does for you, right? I feel like a lot of you guys, you have a word this year. You have something that you have to step up to. You have a requirement this year, that there's a calling on your life this year. There's some stuff that's going to happen, but you have to respond to it, right? God is inviting you into a possibility to respond to your ability. You see what I'm saying? So you have to know, you have to be on top of your P's and Q's to know that, hey, like, I'm going to respond to this so that I can move forward and know how to work with this, right? Because once you respond, I promise you God will do his part. He doesn't say that, hey, I'm just going to bless you overnight, or I'm just going to change you overnight. No, even when he says humble yourself, he says you humble yourself. He didn't say I'm going to humble you. No, what God is doing, he's changing you internally out, but you have the choice to humble yourself. He's changing you inside out and in your mind, but you have the choice to really sit down and understand what to do next with that. You see what I'm saying? So just responsibility, man. I hope this really makes sense to somebody, that you understand that you have to respond to the ability that he gave you. And if you don't respond to the ability that he gave you, he's not going to respond to the power that he has. He's not going to respond to the ability that he has. He's not going to respond to that. Man, my God is so big that he can do a lot of things for your life and do a lot of things through you. But if you're not responding through the ability that he gave you, you're not responding through the talking that he gave you, or let's say the writing or the engineering or the scientific mind that he gave you, whatever it is that's in you, you have to know how to respond to that. There's going to be at some point where in your life that you're going to look up and you're going to say, I'm different. I'm starting to feel different. I don't think the same anymore. Like, my mind is starting to be matured, right? Like, I'm starting to go through another age of puberty. You know what I mean? So guess what? Respond to that. Start reading books. Start reading motivational books. Start researching. Start looking at getting in classes to grow your skill set. Start asking God, like, what does He want to do? What does He want you to do? Because He wants to reveal that to you. People think our God is a God of secrets. No, He's not a God of secrets. He wants to share everything with you, right? But He's not going to share everything with you because you might not be able to handle it, and then you might not even be able to respond the same way, right? God will give you the desires of your heart, but you have to go through these experiences with God so that you know the truth, so that once you get to the desire of your heart, that you know how to respond to that correctly. That's the reason why He has you wait. It's people think like, oh, this is that. God is just a God that convicts me, and God is just a God that doesn't allow me to do anything. God is just a God that is born, or Christian's life is born, or following Jesus is born. But no, it's not. It's just that you don't know how to respond to the relationship that God wants with you. You don't know how to respond to this. Right? And once you learn how to respond to that, I promise you it's going to be amazing, and all the desires of your heart will be fulfilled, and everything will be fulfilled, but it's going to be fulfilled in due time because you have to walk with Him. Right? You have to walk through these experiences. You have to go through this. It's just like your whole life. The experiences that you have went through and the way that you have responded has affected the outcome of your life, has affected where you are right now. It has affected where your mindset is right now because of the way you responded to every circumstance, the way you responded to every trial, the way you responded to every positive, the way you responded to every negative, the way you responded to your whole life up until this point has gotten you to where you are right now. So when are you going to wake up and understand that you have the ability to respond the correct way? You have the ability to respond in the right way, right? We were born with senses. We were born to know what's right from wrong automatically. Even as a kid, we knew what was right from wrong. That didn't have to be taught to us. We already knew it, right? Who you think gave us that sense? God. Because He wanted us to have some type of sense of how to respond to life, how to respond to circumstances, how to respond to our parents telling us no, how to respond to our coaches telling us to run, how to respond to all of these different things. Literally, our life is full of responses. How do you respond? How do you respond when God invites you into something? When somebody come in and curse you out, how do you respond to that? When somebody come in and they're nice to you, how do you respond to that? When somebody come in and they're crying in your arms, how do you respond to that? You see what I mean? You have to literally respond to the ability that God gave you. So learn that, know that, run with that. And I hope this makes sense to somebody, because literally God is He's calling you. God is not a God that just keeps you stagnant, right? God is not a God that keeps you stagnant. He wants to exalt you, but you got to humble yourself. He didn't say, I'm going to humble you. He said for you to humble yourself. He's going to change you inside out. But you have to humble yourself. You have to draw near to Him because He's already near to you. He's already here waiting for you. He's going to meet you directly where you are. But if you're not responding the correct way, He ain't meeting you nowhere. He's not going to meet you. He's not going to talk. He's just going to sit there and look at you like you're crazy because you have not responded in the right way. So, man, this is just a responsibility. Just learn how to respond to the ability that God gave you. And I promise, once you learn how to do that, you're gonna start hearing God. You're gonna start hearing His voice, and you're just gonna start having an overflow of blessings and an overflow of, I'm gonna say this, you're gonna have an overflow of trials and errors and experiences. But the reason why you're gonna have that, because God has to take you through these experiences so that you can experience, so that you can know the truth in the end, and you can know that He is the only God, and that you follow Jesus, and that is the only way to life. That is the only way to eternal life. That is the only way to God. But you have to respond to that, right? Man, and I just really hope that somebody understands this, right? So just learn how to respond to the ability that God gave you, and I promise you it's going to change your life.